Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am TheOutbackAl.
I'm Chibi Noob.
I'm Envy Jitters.
And I am CheerandCosplay.
And we're back with more movie stuff this time around. Envy, it was your pick. What did you pick?
Bayonetta Bloody Fate.
Okay. And this is based on the video game Bayonetta, I assume. That or it's completely different, right?
No, it's an adaptation of the first game.
Okay. Well, I played a little bit of the first game, and I was very bad at it. Can you explain to me what this is about?
Well, I had a feeling you would ask this question, so I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can. You have Bayonetta. Her real name is a spoiler, which we can get to later. She's what's considered an Umbra Witch, citizens of Hell, and they've been in a constant war against Paradiso, which is heaven. There's Dante's Inferno's connection with that, and there's a whole bunch of other mythical creatures, stuff like that. And she's awakened from a 500-year slumber, and she has no memory of her life, and she basically goes around hunting down angels and the occasional demons, and she's unique in that her double powers come from her hair. Because technically her whole body is covered with hair. It's just made to look like clothes most of the time.
I mean, technically all our bodies are covered in hair. You just can't always see it.
Yeah.
Pretty normal when you think about it.
I mean, I guess, but Bayonetta, if you want to think about it, technically isn't wearing clothes. She's just using her magic to look like she's wearing clothes. Don't think about it too hard.
I'm fine with thinking that she's never wearing clothes.
Honestly, I'm not. That's what was tripping me up the most. I'm like, oh, the sensory imaginings. Hair. Ugh.
Well, I mean, if you weave it tightly enough, it would just feel like clothing, wouldn't it? Like, what is clothing? Most clothing is just a series of individual threads pieced together.
Yeah, but it's the weaving that gives it the texture, and I don't think she's weaving fabric, because that would take so much effort to untangle anytime she wanted to use it for something else.
Counterpoint, magic.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, throughout the early part of the movie, you see her in her daily life. She has an informant who's basically Joe Pesci named Enzo. She later meets another person named John, who we learn more about her as the movie goes on. And then through a series of events, she tries to save a child named Cereza, and she also tries to go after a guy named Baldair, who's trying to kidnap Cereza for his own nefarious purposes. And that's the simplest way I can describe it, because even as diehard fans of the game series will tell you, the plot of Bayonetta doesn't mean much. It's very complicated and convoluted, especially if you play the games all the way through. You kind of just go along with one set piece to another and just look at the pretty flashy imagery.
I mean, isn't this movie supposed to be the first game?
Yes.
Oh, and I'm gonna correct you real quick on the pronunciation of the little girl. Her name is Cereza, because it's Italian.
Cerveza.
Well, the games got it wrong then, because they always say Cereza.
Chorizo.
Well, they don't know how to fucking pronounce Italian, okay?
Chimichanga.
Yes, a bunch of people in Japan
No!
Okay.
Japan got it right!
Oh.
I watched the sub, and it was
okay.
correct.
Oh, never mind that.
Oh. In the dub, it was Cereza.
Yeah. They literally mispronounced it in every single game in the franchise then.
Ciao bella.
But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it without going too much into spoilers. It's typical, I mean, setup-wise, it's, pretty typical. It's just the more you go on, the more convoluted the lore gets and stuff like that. The main reason why I recommended this movie is because I played through the series, and when I played through the first two games, I saw that they made a movie adaptation of this, and I thought, oh no, what did they do to butcher it? And I watched it, and I was like, I actually like this. This was actually pretty good, in my opinion. It's a good adaptation of the movie, and it was easy enough to understand without you losing your mind trying to understand everything. So that's why I recommended it, because I thought it was a pretty decent job.
Well, I'm not surprised that it's a weird and bizarre game. Hideki Kamiya, I think his name is, the guy who made it's also like Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry, Beautiful Joe. All games that I'm aware of are bizarre in nature, but apparently very, very fun.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but Devil May Cry came first, and they basically took the blueprint of Devil May Cry and just made it even more wackier. Different setting, but it's the same type of game and combat system, because the game is a hack and slasher, and the whole point is to get as high of a score combo as you possibly can.
Yeah, and I'm bad at that.
Yeah, I wasn't too great either playing the games either. Most of my time I would get a B or a C rank.
Let's be real here. Are we playing the games for the high score, or are you playing for the plot?
I mean, is it like Kill la Kill where you come for the plot, but then you stay for the plot?
I was there for the plot the whole time. I was also here for the plot. And the plot was also interesting.
Yes.
Okay, let's drop the euphemism. As far as the actual plot goes, like, this was one of those ones where I'm kind of like, my one complaint about this really, and it might be like, it's one of those, like, it's a little bit older now. About 10 years ago it came out. Mm-hmm. I hate how much exposition is in this movie. It's, like, I'll say this, it's animated very well. Every 5 minutes is another exposition dump. And I'm like, why? No one cares.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, and maybe it's mostly just because, like, for anyone who isn't really a gamer, and I feel like I've said this about other movies that are based off of video games, for anyone who doesn't want to, put in the time sink, but still wants to consume the content, this is like a way to do that. So they probably feel like they sort of have to give you an exposition dump every 5 minutes in order for you to understand what's going on if you're not a fan of the game.
I get that, but at the same time, it's a little clunky at a certain point, and it's just, It's like, hey, here, let's do some action, let's do some stuff, and now we're gonna stand in one spot for a while and just talk back and forth about stuff that the characters should already know, so it's like, why are you repeating it? I know it's for us, but it's like, it just, I don't know, that's my main complaint.
And I'm gonna be really honest, and maybe this is just me, but it feels like I was watching a video game, because this feels like how a game would normally progress. Like, there's a big fight scene, there's some plot progression, there's exposition dump, more plot progression, another fight, boss fight, and then, so on and so forth. So it kind of like has sort of that flow, I guess, which to me felt, like I should be doing something while this is going on, like actively involved, but I'm not. So it was a little bit weird, but I kind of get it in a strange sort of way. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being kind of weird about it, because this was like, this was fine, but it was something that like was watching it and then not watching it and then watching it and then not watching it. So, but like I was getting the gist of what was going on.
No, I kind of hear you. I don't think it's weird what you're saying there.
Yeah, I mean, that is what happens when you try to condense a 12-hour game into a 90-minute movie. So, I mean, yeah. I've seen worse condensing of a property, so I'll just say that. Yeah.
Cece, what did you think?
I was thinking the same thing Chibi was, honestly. Like, it felt like a game.
Okay.
The same, like, rhythm of a game. Like, fighting sequence, and then a cutscene, and then a fighting sequence, and then a cutscene.
Okay, so it's not just me.
No.
I think
they kind of, like, drip feed you the plot throughout.
I think to some degree, then, you could argue this is a really good adaptation of the video game if it does feel like playing a video game a little bit. I guess minus the playing element of it.
Right.
Yeah. And, like, even during the fight scenes, the music would kick in, and I was like, oh, this feels like a boss theme.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, this feels like I should be fighting something right now.
Did they use, like, actual tracks from the game for the movie?
Yep.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that feels right. So I'm trying to think of what to talk about here, because on the one hand, it's like, okay, this is a video game. There's clearly some, like, probably, I'm guessing the game overall is more spread out, more time for stuff, and it's a lot more action things going on, and this is like a little snippet of it. How did we feel about the actual plot and the snippets that we had of what was going on here with Bayonetta and the child that I will not pronounce because I will do it wrong and all that sort of stuff. I will call her Cerveza.
Nice.
Because frankly, let's be real, I think we all wanted one afterwards.
I will say, if I hadn't played the game beforehand, I may have been a little bit confused, but I think I still understood it, because I'll be honest, playing the first game and the second game in the series, like, they're great games. I love both games, but their stories are very convoluted at times, and it's like an anime plot where they have so much lore. They say so many names and things in a row, and you're just trying to keep track of one thing or another. And I feel like in this movie, they kind of condensed it to where it gave you the bare minimum to, to get the overarching story, but simplified it. Because in the game, there's sequences where you don't get much plot for like 2 hours because you're just going through random battle sections, one or another, or some characters will say one thing and then it doesn't come back to later in the story until hours later. So I think they did a decent job condensing it to where I understood it for the most part. Because I think once they introduce the child, I think everyone can kind of guess the big twist on who she is. So
yeah.
And, obviously seeing John and Bayonetta getting along, going from enemies to friends, like, I liked that a lot. Because they become best friends in the later games, and there's a running joke that Bayonetta and John are your rich lesbian aunts that come every Christmas to give you all the gifts in the world.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing was like, I'm like, oh, good, this is my ship for the time being.
Yeah.
When I like saw her come on the screen, I was like, good. She has a girlfriend.
Yes. Good.
And then there's Luca, the bumbling idiot that thinks he's suave, and he's kind of suave, but not really at the same time.
Is it just weird? Did he have the vibe of like a very pathetic JoJo character?
I gotta be real. I think that was because it was Yuri Lowenthal doing it, and sometimes he's really cool, but a lot of times he is very much like, I don't know what to do. But he does a good job.
Again, I did not watch the dub. I watched the sub.
Here's the weird thing. The original game apparently was only in English. So it's actually, we're doing the more accurate thing by watching the dub.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Even though it was made in Sega by a Japanese studio, they only made it in the dub. And the sub voice, they were so impressed with the sub voice cast of this game that they actually brought the sub cast back for Bayonetta 2 and 3. So this movie was important for a few reasons.
Yes, important for Japanese video games voiced entirely in English who got a sequel that they could put into Japanese.
Yeah.
Again, I think the director of the game is probably just like, weird and interesting guy.
Yeah. Bayonetta has a weird history, too, as a video game franchise, because the original game came out on the PS3 and 360, but for whatever reason, they couldn't get the funding and the support for a sequel for years. And so the sequel was a Wii U exclusive at the time because Nintendo actually paid them a lot of money to fund the game. So you have a character that's very M-rated on a Nintendo exclusive, and it was a Switch exclusive for Bayonetta 3. So I just find that hilarious where, in retrospect, Bayonetta's more of a Nintendo franchise now.
I mean, is that how she got to Smash?
Yes, that's exactly how she got to Smash.
Well, however you get there, you get there.
I mean, I guess there's also like a little prequel game on the Switch as well that's like about Cereza, the child.
I mean,
definitely a Nintendo franchise at this point.
I mean, she would have to be Nintendo. I mean, I look at the character and all I think is Smash.
Wow.
The sad part is that you're not that far off, because back in Smash for Wii U, the game's director, Sakurai, had basically a poll to see which character they wanted to bring into Smash. Now, obviously, there were some characters that they couldn't bring in, like Goku, that was, near the top, but
we have mods for that.
Yeah, but Bayonetta topped the popularity chart, and that's how she was the final character in Smash 4 for Wii U.
I'd imagine she would be very popular.
Yeah, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. One of the big draws of Bayonetta was her sex appeal, and that led to a whole bunch of debate online of, oh, she's too sexy, or, oh, no, she's female empowerment, she's meant to be sexy, and because she's proud of it, she owns up to it, that's girl power. And I'm like, I'm not getting into this debate. I don't feel responsible enough to answer that question.
There is also the fact that she was designed by a woman.
I did not know that part.
Yeah.
I'd just go with pretty lady go shoot.
Yeah, her only instructions were woman, witch, 4 guns, and then
go.
That's all she had, and then she designed Bayonetta.
Also, I guess like the beehive sort of thing with like her ponytail was meant to like sort of be based off like the witch hats, like the pointy ones that were commonly, in witch media. So that, I guess, was a thing. I was just reading that off of the Wikipedia page. But yeah.
I mean, how did you guys like the characters overall? I mean, this is probably your first time experiencing them.
No, I've seen Bayonetta before.
Yeah, I really only know them from the Dink Lesbian Aunties meme.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's fine.
I think it is, at least for me, one of those things of like, again, this is a very truncated version of what we could be having if we were like playing the game or something like that. Bayonetta's fine. She does what she do. Everyone else around her is kind of, I don't want to say paper thin. I know that there's more character there, but a lot of the side characters just sort of there because they're supposed to be. I'm going to be real with you. I think the Undertaker guy could have been completely cut from the movie and we wouldn't have missed anything. Except for a couple extra exposition dumps.
He's one of my favorite characters, too, in the franchise, Rodin.
I meant Enzo. Rodin seemed fine, and he served a purpose of giving her weapons and whatnot. I mean, Enzo really doesn't seem to serve any function at all here.
Okay, I thought you were talking...
he didn't need to be there.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Rodin. Yeah, when you said Undertaker, that made me think of him, because he's technically like he has like a bar in the underworld that gives her guns and helps her out with problems, so...
Yeah, I mean, he clearly serves a purpose, and it has a longer history that we will never know about from this movie, but...
Yeah, I thought, as far as, character stuff and everything, since I'm not really familiar with what Bayonetta was, the sages and witches thing, I was like, oh, okay, more angels and demon nonsense. Mostly just because, I feel like there are a lot of games that have this sort of motif, but I digress. So, I guess, a lot of it wasn't really surprising. Plot twists weren't really surprising either. And I don't know. I feel like, again, I agree with Al that, a lot of this is very condensed. So probably a lot of more interesting character work would probably be, more better seen through actually playing the games than, watching a movie. But I think we generally get the sort of a gist of some of the characters. Luca or Cheshire is basically, whiny, but also, he has, a tragic backstory involving Bayonetta and his father, and he's driven to I guess try to figure out what's going on with her. I was kind of a little bit confused by that storyline at some points, because I'm just dude, I get it's because she ended up killing your dad, and I guess that was when she was awakening. Yes, Envy?
Yeah.
But I don't know, I guess I'm losing my train of thought here. It's late. But yeah, I think maybe a little bit more character stuff could have been done, but again, I think that for a movie, it's fine.
I do wonder if we wouldn't be having any of these complaints if this was a series as opposed to a movie.
Oh yeah, I feel like if this was a show and we could maybe go in a little bit more depth, this might maybe at least have a little bit more conversation. But
without it just being a dump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice. Have every episode could have a showcase of a boss fight kind of thing. That could be pretty fun. I'd probably watch that for 13 episodes.
This should not have been an email.
Many things could have been an email.
A strongly worded 5-page letter.
So how do we like the angels and demons stuff? I mean, I feel like it's pretty regular for Japan to kind of just take the surface level stuff for a lot of Christianity stuff, which, is fair as fair. We've done that with their culture a whole lot over here, so everyone sort of is hey, let's have this. I like a couple of these things. Let's not worry about anything deeper than what the surface level stuff is. I
mean, like I mentioned earlier, they based the setup from Dante's Paradiso. So, heaven is one thing, hell is another thing. Obviously, if you look at it from a surface level, you would say the Paradiso are the good guys, but they're kind of dicks too. And not everybody in hell is bad either, because, case in point, Bayonetta. So they kind of, basically, whoever side you're choosing, you're not really choosing a completely 100% good or bad side either. They're just doomed to fight each other for eternity. It's just that Bayonetta's parents were, an angel and a demon, Romeo and Juliet, stuff like that.
Were they an angel and a demon, or a sage and a witch?
Sage and a witch.
Sage and a witch, but but they're from, the different worlds.
I get that. I just trying to get the terminology straight.
Yeah, I think if she was the spawn of an angel and a demon, she'd look very different and it'd be much less of a smash. Or
speak for yourself.
Maybe more of a smash.
I mean, I guess it depends. Are you into wheels with many eyes?
I was thinking upside down dragon face creature, double-heady.
Yeah.
So much going on there. It's like I have no idea what's going on, but I want to find out.
I mean, whether or not their interpretations of Dante's Inferno Paradiso are accurate to that work, I do not know. I've only read one of that collection years ago in high school, and I don't remember much of it. So
I would say they probably just used the names.
Yeah.
And kind of used it as like upper world, middle world, lower world, where Earth is the other side of Purgatorio. Because that's where Purgatorio is, except technically Purgatorio would be somewhere in the middle of the Pacific, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, it was something they wrote before they realized that the world was fully the world, so...
Well, it's not even that. It's just, like, they didn't know what was on, like, that side of the globe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I guess technically this isn't even like Christianity, because what's the god's name? Jubilee or something?
Yeah.
Jubileus.
Oh, yeah. Jubilee's the X-Men nobody likes. Right.
I was just going to say that.
I was like, that would have been an interesting thing to see her show up as the god at the end. Like, nothing for nothing. That would have been the plot twist that would have got me. I think we all saw Chorizo being who she was, like, as soon as she showed up. But...
I was waiting for when you were going to say chorizo or someone was going to say chorizo.
Look, man, chimichanga is adorable, but at the same time, this is like, we know where this is going from the second that it starts. So
you are a Mexican sausage.
A spicy Mexican sausage.
I mean, she does grow up to be a spicy Mexican sausage. Well, spicy British sausage.
British sausage. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't. Spicy and British don't go together.
Yeah.
She took all the spice from the whole country.
That's why. Okay, this makes sense now.
It's just in one person.
I mean, it's going to good use, let's be real.
You should have like a counter when you edit this. How many times does Al thirst for Bayonetta?
I mean, it's the whole show, man. It's the whole movie, it's the whole game. We know what's up.
Yeah.
Have you ever played this game before, Cece?
No, I have not. My first experience. And, like, I knew she was a little spicy just from her outfit. I did not realize gratuitous close-ups during the transformation sequences.
Yeah.
Her hair would kind of explode off of her at times.
Yeah.
And at my job, we have a tool. We have several tools that are bayonetted to, like, be held easier. And every single time I would try to put that in the computer, like bayonet forceps, it would correct it to Bayonetta forceps. And now I'm really like, what were people looking at? The keyboard is like, no. Bayonet's not a word. You mean Bayonetta.
I think you can guess that someone was looking at something on
cheat codes.
a work computer.
Codes. Don't worry about it.
I mean, with some of the conversations you've had with people at work, does that really surprise you, though, Cece, from the stuff that you've told us?
Yeah, no.
Guys, I know what was going on, alright? The story's very complicated. They were looking up the plot. So how do we feel like the voice cast did with all this?
Well, I mean, I guess we should ask Chibi first, because she was the one that watched it in the sub. I've never actually experienced anything sub, so how did you like the sub?
I mean, I thought they were fine. I didn't really have anything to compare them to, so I think for like a first experience, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, they must have had a good impression if they were, hired to continue with the video game series afterward. Yeah, I mean, John is Grey Griffin, so, she's a veteran. Rodan is Dave Fennoy, who has one of the best voices ever. Like, he goes up with Keith David for, like, some of the deepest voices ever for a voice actor. So he was Lee from the Walking Dead games, and he's a whole bunch of other voices. If you look up his filmography, he's great. Obviously, we talked about Yuri Lowenthal. Patrick Seitz is in the movie. And I will say that Helena Taylor did a good job as Bayonetta. That's all I'll say about her, because she's not very welcome in the Bayonetta community anymore.
Okay, now I need to know.
She was replaced in Bayonetta 3 with Jennifer Hale, and everyone thought that they canned her for no good reason, and so she posted a video saying that she was basically not asked to return, but then Platinum Games and Sega came out and said, yeah, she was asked to return, and she didn't want to come back for the amount that she was offered, and then she said that she was offered a paltry sum of money, and so people took her side again, but then they came back and said, no, we gave you the standard rate plus a little bit of a bonus. You just wanted more than we wanted, and so she was let go, and then now everyone hates her because she lied multiple times.
Well, that's unfortunate for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching all that unfold.
And that was right when Bayonetta 3 came out in 2022, so that was like basically, that overtook the whole marketing of that game.
Would that be good?
Any publicity is good publicity.
No, she actually she called for a boycott of the game, and some people were actually going to listen to her. But then, of course, once they figured out she was a liar, it kind of blew up in her face.
Well, I mean, it got people talking about the game, I guess.
Yeah, just probably not the way that they would have wanted it, because it's technically a niche. Like, people, like, the average gamer may know Bayonetta because of her design and her sex appeal, but it's still a very niche franchise. Like I said, Nintendo had to save the franchise from cancellation, so I think the game has sold relatively well on the Switch, but, you know, it doesn't have the sales of Devil May Cry or other games in its genre, so it's still a relatively niche franchise, and so that negative publicity probably didn't help it much. But overall, yes, I like the voice cast.
I'm trying to think what to talk about.
Yeah.
Did you like the action, at least? Because it is an action movie.
Yes. There were some parts that were pretty good. Whenever they were doing some gun fu between Bayonetta and John, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Some of the angels and whatnot were a little They were more fodder than anything. I don't feel like they ever really gave her a challenge of any kind, so it was just kind of like, you're just kind of waiting for them to get killed a little bit. So I'd kind of say the main selling point is witch on witch violence, and then the god on god violence at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Which, summoning up the Queen of Oblivion to fight your jubilation god. Yeah, this absolutely, you know what? This does feel like the absolute perfect progression of some sort of JRPG. We're gonna start with like kicking some chickens in the church, and then by the end of the movie, we are going to kill God and our father at the same time.
Sounds about right.
I mean, not even JRPGs, like, that reminds me of Lollipop Chainsaw. I feel like that is a very similar progression.
I feel like that's right in the same hack and slash crazy genre that this is.
Yeah. Up to and including fighting your father as the final boss.
Spoilers.
I feel like the father is the boss in, like, a lot of games.
What? Are you saying that people in the gaming industry might have daddy issues? I agree.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, in Devil May Cry, in one of the games, the final boss is your brother, so, you know, it's always family.
If it's not the father, it's the brother.
No, if it's not the father, it's the mother.
Is it the mother?
It depends on what kind of mother she was.
I feel like the evil mother is usually just for the fairy tale stuff.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. It's normally some sort of relative. But first, I don't know. I guess I would just think, like, if it's not the dad, then the next closest thing would be your mom, because think about how much more heart-wrenching that would be to have to, like, fight your mother, who is supposed to be, like, the one who raised you, if you had a particularly strong connection. But I guess, I don't know. I guess that's just me thinking about it from, like, a thematic sort of perspective, but...
I absolutely agree with you. I just feel like the numbers don't match.
No, I get it. You're probably right.
Because, like, the only thing coming to my mind is Kill la Kill right now, which, of course, we all watched for the plot. And, yeah, there was a whole lot of plot at the end with that mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just probably
certainly
not.
a word for it.
Yeah.
So, Envy, I guess since you've actually played through the whole games,
Yes.
and you actually got to experience these boss fights, how did they compare to this? How'd you feel about them?
I mean, it's kind of weird because, you know, trying to compare the medium of a video game, comparing actually playing it and experiencing it versus seeing it in a movie is two different ways. I will say most of the boss fights translate pretty well. The final fight against Jubileus was good in the movie. In the video game, it's freaking epic because the part where John rides up with her motorcycle, you actually play that in the game and it's really badass. And then it's, a button mash at the very end of the game where you literally punch Jubileus into the sun. And I mean, it's pretty satisfying to do that in the game, but it's nice to see in the movie too.
Might have to pick that game back up again, even if I'm not going to record it for the channel or anything, just to play through it, just to see it all.
Yeah. I will say the first game is good, but there are some difficulty spikes in the game. I think the second game is my favorite in the trilogy. I think it's the best paced and the best overall story and the best overall experience, in my opinion.
All right. Why call it Bloody Fate? Is there a reason for that?
There's a lot of violence, and you're solving her fate, I guess.
It's a bloody fate because she has to kill her dad.
Do you think they mean bloody like actually bloody or bloody like British bloody?
Maybe both.
Bayonetta. Oh, bloody fate.
I didn't even consider that, but now probably that one.
Granted, I don't know why they gave her an English accent. I mean, maybe it's set in Britain. I don't know, but
it's not.
But
it's hot.
I mean, I like the British accent. I don't know why they decided to give her a British accent. Maybe they just thought
that's the accent of Vigrid, I guess, which is I think the country that this takes place in.
It's because it's hot.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Americans do love a British accent.
Yeah.
It's weird. They either make fun of it or they find it attractive. It depends on what type of accent it is.
Okay, now I really want to see a version of Bayonetta where she's like, "Oi, governor!"
I was just thinking, like, oh, now Cockney. What about
Oi, what's all this
Yorkshire? Ooh.
We're going to kill you, Bayonetta. You fucking what, mate?
we literally have Enzo, where, like I mentioned earlier, he's basically Joe Pesci from any Joe Pesci movie in the 90s, but I guess Goodfellas is the prime example. And, that's New York Italian right there. And then, so it's whatever they thought was funny because, Japanese people making a game for Western audiences.
All right, well, I'm going to say overall here, although this wasn't I would have liked this better as a series because it would have given us more time to actually flesh out the story and maybe have a few more action set pieces here and there. I'm going to say this is a light yay. I don't think there's much wrong here. It's nice to look at, and the action's pretty decent. And you know what? I'm interested in playing the game again, which, if nothing else, I feel like this should just sell me on the game, hopefully. If I'm not already a fan, I might as well check it out again.
Yeah, the first game is still on Steam. The other two games are
I have
Switch,
it for console.
So...
I'll just pop it in at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm somewhere between a high meh and a light yay. This was fine. I would say for a movie adaptation of a video game, trying to fit every at least some of the most important details and things into a watchable piece of media. I think that this did a good job. Would I maybe pick up the video game? Probably not, but I'm also kind of in a gaming slump, as I've been for a couple of years now, so yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it was a pleasant surprise for me. I was going into the movie expecting a mediocre to bad adaptation, and I was surprised. Now, granted, not a lot of people agree with me. It has a 6 rating on Mal, which isn't good, but I personally enjoyed it a lot, and I thought it was a decent adaptation of the game. And like Chib said earlier, if you don't have the patience or the time to play the game, but you want a quick summary of it, I think it's a serviceable enough job.
Yeah, I'll give it a light yay. Much what everybody else said. It's fine. I don't have any major complaints with it. I think it's easy enough to follow if you're unfamiliar with it. I don't think I would go out of my way to play the game, but if somebody in my Steam family bought it and it was in my account, I had access to it, then I might give it a shot. Especially because it's kind of sounding more and more like Lollipop Chainsaw, and I love Lollipop Chainsaw.
When's the Lollipop Chainsaw movie?
I'm very scared what they would do with that, so maybe not.
Oh well, so that was Bayonetta Bloody Fate, a story of a very pretty lady in a tight black outfit. So let's watch another movie with a very pretty lady in a tight black outfit. Chibi, what's your movie coming up?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, it is Spy Family Code White.
It's a gorgeous segue.
I knew there was a transition in there somewhere. Yeah. So what's going on with this? I have not caught up on Spy Family. Is that going to be a problem?
No, it is not, because this movie is not part of the canon, so you can watch it freely and of your own free will.
So it's just a regular old anime movie where we're gonna pretend like this is the most important thing ever and then never reference it again, ever.
Yes.
All right.
Welcome to 9 out of 10 anime movies.
Yep.
Based on TV shows.
Oh yeah. Good times. Should be fun. Yeah, so Spy X Family next week. We got another movie after that, and then we're starting The Tournament. All right, now we've already revealed half of the contestants for the Mahou Shoujo Showdown, so let's get 8 more. See what else we got here. We're gonna... Who else is coming to fight? We got Cardcaptor Sakura, Wedding Peach, Saint Tail, Phantom Thief John, Sugar Sugar Rune, Magical Project S, Pre-Tier, and Magical Princess Minky Momo. I know maybe one of those names in there. I'm going to say this was very interesting to collect 32 different shows for this tournament, because a lot of them are like, I have no idea what this is, but it's a magical girl show, and other ones are like, oh, I've heard of this, never watched it. I think there's maybe 3 shows on here that I've ever actually watched.
It's like you've heard of some of the big ones because they're the staples of the genre, but then you realize, shit, they made a lot more than just a few magical girl shows. Yeah. It's like Infestation.
Oh yeah, no. Pre-Tier has so many seasons. It's kind of ridiculous.
We should be clear that for any of these franchises, we are starting with just their first series. So it's like, we're not going to be doing Pre-Tier Season 17 or whatever, because maybe that one's the best or something, but like, I have no idea what the fuck's going to be going on then, so yeah. So next week, we're going to drop the other 8. We're going to watch Spy Family, and then the week after that, we're going to tell you the matchups and everything, and have all that good stuff. So Spy X Family for next week. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys then. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoy this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!